Okay, guys, you might get going here just in a second here. If you can sit down there. We might try and start here, so. Good mind. No, you're okay. You're all right. You're all right. Okay, guys. My name is Paudie Malone. I'm a GDC in Tipperary. I have been for my 11th year in Tipperary now, but today I'm kind of putting on the club hat and talking about a program we launched recently in our club. Expelled from being involved in the 17 team last year in the club, and just taking a few notes throughout the year on how we can improve things for the following year. So I'm going to click on here. It's very much a club, kind of a case study on the club. It's leading on from some of the issues that Loughmore would have, and Na Piarsaigh as well. So, little insight into the club first of all, and where I'm coming from, and where our base is really. So we're a small rural club outside Neenah. Of the 2022 census, there was a population of 460 people. 65% of the population was over the age of 30. I was under 17 manager last year, and the club have kind of dropped levels in the last number of years. We've dropped from senior level in the counties to senior, premier, intermediate. We've dropped down to intermediate in the last 10 years. On our programme that we're doing in the club, from the age, 12 to 18, there's 48 players registered inside in the club, okay? At the moment, we play under 13C, 15B and 17B, and the figure at the bottom is why probably the programme has been put in place. Few amount of players coming through to play in the first adult team. So we as a club had to address that, and there was a committee set up around that. So I'm going to go back to the committee for a second. So the committee was set up inside in the club. It's representative of all the different boards. So obviously Tom Gallagher, who's our senior chairperson, Mike Donlan is our juvenile chairperson, Darren Gleeson's our coaching officer, Liam Sheehy is our 21 manager, Damien Ryan was our intermediate coach last year, so he gave knowledge from the senior team, the players that got up to senior in the last number of years, and I was 17 manager. A lot of big names on that list in that committee, and their experience will be used throughout the programme, as you'll see as we continue on. Mike Donlan is currently minor football manager in Tip. Darren, of course, all-star hurler, All-Ireland winner, former Antrim manager. Liam Sheehy needs no introduction. And Damien, of course, would have worked with some of the minors and minor team in Tip as well as a coach. So we got good experience on the committee. So what was the reason for the programme? Why did we set it up? The change in age grades in our county from 13, 15, 17 saw, talking to a lot of clubs, create an issue of bringing players through to senior level. So they were very young leaving juvenile level. And is that player robust enough from an injury prevention point of view, like Liam was talking about earlier on? Are they prepared for the adult game? Okay, so that was one of the reasons for doing it. We're trying to replicate a better environment inside the club around youth development. So previously, maybe teams would have started back a bit later in the year, had about a 6-week window into championship. We want to bring that back and maybe start a bit earlier in the year and keep guys engaged. The juvenile season or the youth season inside the club can be quite a short season in some places, and it's important that those players are engaged or they go find some other activity to do during those months. While we encourage multi-sport and soccer and rugby and all those things, it's important they're also in with the club during those times of the year as well. The club have amazing facilities. So we have a hurling wall. We've recently acquired land beside the field. We're on a development process at the moment. We're on a walking track and stuff like that. So the club is doing great stuff on the outside. It's about utilising those things inside in the club. The big thing for us is creating a culture, and Liam is very big on this on our committee, on creating a culture on personal responsibility. We want to create a person who comes into our programme, that leaves our programme, that's confident to get his own work done. And by meaning getting his own work done is that he's confident under a bar, he's confident under his movement patterns, that he can go in and use our facilities inside in the club. We have a gym inside in the club that's been upgraded all the time. And it needs to be used more often and more regularly by players in the club. Okay, so it's important for us to create that culture that when you leave our programme, that you know what to do and how to do it. We want to get players to the adult team first team quicker as best we can. So again, as I said, the previous slide, we're not producing players for the adult first team quick enough. And unfortunately, in the position we're in, no more than the Loughmores of this world, we have to get players through quicker than other clubs have to get players through. The workshop part of the programme is to develop the player as well as the person. So it's important that we don't forget that why they're inside in the club, what's the club about, and how we instill values that we want to see when they get to senior. And then obviously the last is retention of youth players transitioning to the adult game. So there is a certain amount of players will be good enough to go on to the first team. We also have a second team in our club, which is also very important. But it's important that that culture is carried through, whereas the first team or the second team inside in the club, they're not picking up bad habits and be going with the second team, that they turn up to every second training, every third training, or they're not doing the S&C work, or they come back later in the year. It's important to bring that culture throughout the whole club, okay? The program has 4 key pillars, all right? So it's based around athletic development, which a lot of clubs are doing at the moment inside in their clubs, running mechanics, which is one we specified and looked at, mentorship side of the program, which is about the player and the person, and then also a collection of workshops which feed into the whole mentorship side, all right? What was our aim? You can read that there yourself. We wanted to give young players a chance. So we often found that young players feared pre-season when they're 17, 18 years of age. They had no gym experience from the club, so they would come in and they probably would maybe shy away a bit from the whole gym side of the house or the whole running side of the house. So it's preparing that player to know what's coming. That's not a shock to the system, okay? The mentorship side of the program will give our 17-year-olds transitioning to senior a bit of a voice. So for example, Darren and Liam lead our mentorship program inside in the club, and they'll make sure when those players go up to senior level that they have a voice, that there is a program with that player. All their testing data will be there from our testing program, their attendance at workshops, how they found them throughout the year inside in the gym, etc. like that. We'll have a written report from the S&C coach and also from the 2 boys as well when they go up to the intermediate grade. To create a culture of personal responsibility and to instill identity in culture. Okay, so we'll come back to all those things in a second. This is what our athletic development looks like. Okay, on the right-hand side you see Paudie, our athletic development coach. So at the moment we have players actually from 12 years of age to 19 years of age inside in the program. We'll come back to that in a second. I've got a couple of changes I would make to the program. It's 2 nights a week at the moment, so every Monday and Friday night before Christmas we started off inside in the gym. Okay, that's now gone to 3 nights a week. They're inside in the track, athletic track and lean on a Wednesday night. Okay. It will transition to 1 night a week, just gym only in April, and that's been identified as a Friday night. So it works out best in the calendar for the youth teams inside in the club. So we in Tipperary, it's youth games are played on the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Okay, there's 3 groups in the program of approximately 16 players. So the first group comes in at 6:30, second group 7:20, and third group 8:10. There's going to be testing happening 3 times a year. So what's measured probably improves. So for us, it's very important that testing is shown to the players. Now, Podge here, as a athletic development coach, who I sourced there as part of the program, has worked at our academy squads in Tipperary for a number of years. So he's a really good knowledge of this age grade. And that's important for us that he knew what he was working with. Okay, so my role inside in the county at the minute is I'm athletic development. I'm academy lead in hurling, and I'm also coach ed lead. So I have a few connections, and obviously Liam has connections, and so has Darren inside in his own way with different teams. So the big thing that we had as well is record of attendance. When you come into our gym now, there's a big board on the wall. I think it fell down since the new year. But it's all the players' names are up and all their attendance is up. And players take great pride in seeing the ticks on the wall or the absentees or the X's on the wall to make sure, encourage people to come to the gym more. It's open, it's transparent, and it shows the guys are doing it really well. All right? This is the player testing that we have. So in order to make sure players are progressing right, there's a height, weight, and player maturation test done with the players. Very simple, check your height, check your weight. The 4 tests we have them are lower limb power tests, so counter movement jump, acceleration, strength, and fitness. Now the aim in year 2 or year 3 of this program just started in October, would be to have that rolled out over the whole club. Okay, so we'll go into the senior side of the house, and we've got a database on players from all the way down from 30 back down to when they started with us at 13 years of age. Okay, so that would be the ambition of that program. Again, it's very early days in this, but it's important to have a kind of continuous testing down. We can see progression. There's no point in a new S&C coach coming in with the senior team and doing different tests that doesn't correlate to what data that we have on our players at the moment. Big part of our program is running mechanics. So we found why some players are very athletic or some players are very strong, their running mechanics are quite poor. So I took notes throughout the year with my management team around what way are we looking or how are we looking from a point of view of running and strength-wise. We're very lucky in Nina. We have a running track inside Nina. It's an indoor running track. It's 200-metre running track. I think it's the only one since Athlone opened up one in the last number of years. The players go into a qualified athletic coach. His name is Dennis Finnerty. He's a level 3 athletic coach. He's 1 level off becoming Olympic standard, so he's absolutely top class with the players. We have limited this to 2010 players only and above. So we have players in our program 2011, 2012, but we found talking to the coach inside with the athletic club in Nina, we're saying they're probably a bit too young to take it on. at that level. So we're working with just 2010 players and above, okay? It actually started already, so it was slowed down because of the snow, but we now have 2 sessions done the Wednesday night. I've got some videos to show you what we're doing inside there as well. That will transit, it's only once a week, and the full focus on running mechanics. It's not about getting players to the track and running them around it multiple times. You can see some of the stuff they're doing here, so maybe it might play for me. So this is the running track in Ian. This is just 40-metre works off the ramp in Ian, so it's a raised bed, and they come in and they do 40-metre runs. There's coaches watching their technique, and they're fed back technique as they come back around to the middle of the track. So you take off there to the left. So that's a very simple one. All these players are 2010 above, so they're turning 15 this year. Okay. It's a very basic stuff. This is only night 2 of the program, by the way, now. This is another thing to do, so they brought out the hurdles to show them different techniques around how they arm and leg movement together, get their coordination right. So very simple stuff. Again, our athletic coaches are there. They actually had 2 that night, minding the players. Again, this is night 1 of the program. Some guys obviously are very efficient. Some guys need a bit of work. Okay. But again, excellent for the players. Very simple to do it. Okay. All right. Track 3. So this is just going through hurdles for stride length. Okay. I don't proclaim to be an athletic development coach, so if you have any question on that, I suppose look it up online or maybe contact even the athletic track. They do an awful lot of work with team stuff as well. So this is what the players are exposed to now on a Wednesday night. Okay, and it's very important for the players, for their development, to go into a different environment. We were asked if we do this inside in our own AstroTurf inside in Port. We said no, we bring them to a new environment. They're there 2 nights a week, and it's an environment of running. So the first couple of nights we were there, before Christmas, they had Charlie Mjolzi doing her running inside the track there. So there's really high-level athletes there inside there all the time. Junior winning athletes, there's juvenile athletes. So players can see what it looks like to really work hard. So we thought it was a very good thing to bring them into the track. The mentorship side is slightly different. So a lot of clubs are doing the athletic development side. But I suppose the mentorship side is something that we were very keen on in Port, right? So how do we guide transition players from juvenile to adult training next year? So basically, we want to get a portfolio on all the players. So especially the players that are transitioning out of juvenile competition. So we have 6 players this year in Port that are coming out with 17 into the adult game. So how do we make sure those players are well looked after at senior level? So we're going to have our testing data done on them. We're going to have a bit of work done with Liam and Darren in the background, and they will feed to the new manager. We'll go, look, this guy is very strong here. He can be quite lazy, or he's very good to talk, or he's very quiet. But he'll give him some kind of portfolio on the player as he comes into the senior setup. A lot of these players get lost in the mix here, okay, and they could lose out and not talk up in player meetings or so on and so forth. So we're very, very big on that. We're also trying to create a high-performance mindset, improving environments and culture through our workshops we're going to do later on, and advice to the player in adult game. So a very big thing for us is that our 17-year-olds don't feel on their own going into the senior setup. I'm in favour of going back to the old age groups of under 18. I know some counties have here in Munster. I find a 17-year-old is very young to go into the adult game. That's my own personal opinion. But that's the mentorship side. These are the workshops we've got laid up for the players in the new year. So in January, we've got a nutrition workshop with a Tipperary under 20 hurling coach, or hurling nutritionist. She's coming to talk to the players in January, and that'll be ran in the local primary school in the parish. Okay, they've got a hall there. Culture and identity is going to be done by Liam in February. So Liam's going to, nutrition is for the players and the parents. Obviously, the parents are filling the lunch boxes and cooking the meals, so it's important that they're included in that as well. Culture and identity is going to be with Liam inside in Port as well, inside in the club. And he's going to talk to the players about what is Port Road, the club, where we're from, what's it about, what's our history about. A lot of the players wouldn't be au fait with a lot of this history of the club. A big one that we had in our programme, so we had a Zoom call about a month ago around planning our workshops. And the massive one we had was drug awareness. And it probably touches all clubs, guys, in Munster and beyond, around drug awareness and, I suppose, how do we preempt or how do we maybe inform players or people, I suppose, on how you maybe stay away from the catchment area of drugs. So we have a person lined up to do a talk on that. Liam is working that in the background for us. And I suppose having people in your committee that are quite well connected is excellent from a point of view if they've got good connections outside the committee that you can bring back into the group. And then we've got basic goal setting and mindset. This will be done on pitch. So we're going to be doing this on pitch with the players. We have a person lined up to do this, but I don't have his names. I haven't gotten confirmed yet, so I'm not going to say his name, but he's going to come out and do living in the moment on the pitch. So, you make a mistake, how do you recover from it, all that side of the house. So again, it's a 4-step workshop that the club are investing in. So people are going to be paid to do these workshops for the club. I got full costings on this program in the next couple of slides, and we'll show you as we go through. Costings, right. So, open and honest with everybody here. I didn't sign the club form and sign tip. This is what it's costing the club, but I've got a couple of changes to make to it. So at the moment, the development coach is costing €90 per night, which is excellent value to take 3 groups for 45 minutes each. Okay? It's in our own gym, so there's no cost in facilities, it's just the coach. Nina Indoor Track has slightly changed. The players now pay €5 each. The club have no cost on that. So the players come in, they pay €5 and they work away from there. It's working quite well at the moment, and that's the way that Nina Athletic Club wants it done, so that's where we're going to go and do it for them. We've had no complaints from parents ratting around asking for that money, so we'll continue on with that from there. We have the 4 workshops lined up, and obviously Liam is doing one, so that will drop a bit to $850. And then we got gear for the players involved in the program. So there's 3 things we've identified that players want. They want gear, grub, and games. Okay? And that's the kind of thing we have in our academy as well. That's what players want at that age grade. So we won't be giving them grub, but we can definitely try to give them gear, and it feeds back into identity as well. So for us as a club, do we have gear that all players can wear to matches and stuff like that? And that's coming up a lot in a recent juvenile meeting as well around how do we improve the identity of the club. Some clubs are excellent at this and they look after their players really well. Some area that maybe we have slipped in our own club around getting gear out to players. Senior players very well looked after to a certain degree, but they all give their own money towards it. But we need to start looking at maybe kitting out our juvenile players a small bit better. And the total cost of the club then is there, but that's not the true figure obviously when you take away different things from it. Funding the project. So at the moment we have a big fundraiser in our club called the Quid Games, and it's going ahead in February. So at the moment we're kind of tied up and not allowed to fundraise for this program yet. But this is the way we're going to look at funding the project going into the future. So retired players funds, any player that's not playing anymore with our club but has been playing with our club previously or coached at our club, we're going to ask them to sponsor a player on the program. And the cost of sponsoring a player will be €50. The target is 60 players to bring in $3,000. Some players might give more, so on and so forth. But that's the target. Whatever you get in this program, you have to work for it. So the juvenile players in the club will have to do their own fundraiser as part of the program. So there will be a juvenile spinathon that will be held over 2 12-hour days outside our local shop. And those players, they put on a bike and working for an hour, maybe in groups of 3 or groups of 2, around fundraising for that day. They'll be given a sheet to fill up as well with money to come in before we even start the program. But it's important to instill that in the players as well. You don't get anything for free, you have to work for what you get. So the players will be asked to go on that program from a juvenile spinathon as well. The membership of the club has been increased. We were probably one of the cheapest clubs in Ireland as regards for membership of players, but that has increased slightly. I don't know if that's going to come up to €2,000. It's only recently been agreed in our local adjourned AGM. And then a potential sponsor of the program. So I don't want to be going looking for money for the same thing every year. I have to go try and find a sponsor for this. Our committee's got to try and find a sponsor for this program to make sure it's longevity. We can't keep going to the same hands all the time, and that's why we're kind of tight at the moment. We can't go fundraise at the moment because the club is fundraising for huge facility projects it's doing in the future. So for us as a group, we have to make sure that when we're going for sponsorship of this program, that we can find someone who can do this over a 3, 4, 5 year period, and we're not tied into every year looking for money, because in time that will probably fade. So what's the end goals is? We're nearly finished and we got one more slide left. End goals and progressions. Transition more players to the first out of the team in the next 3 years. Okay, to retain more players in the juvenile system in the club. So basically keeping the players in the club active longer. Okay, so there's nothing worse than passing the club at home, the lights are off inside the gym, there's no one in there, and the facilities are not turned on. Let's try and keep it going a small bit longer in the year. To get more players in divisional and county squads, I think at the moment from under 17 down, we only have something like 2 or 3 players in divisional and county squads in our club. We'd love to double that maybe if we could, go into the future. To offer more than just training, social learning and fun environment, okay? That comes into the whole workshop area and also stuff for coaches as well. To create a self-sufficient player that in the future as an adult will have the techniques to work on his own. That's very important to us. Okay, we don't want to be paying for, in the future, an S&C coach to come in to do X&C work with the boys. We want the boys to be given a program and work themselves off their own back. They have all the techniques, the gym is there for them, we want them to come in and use it. So we had a recent talk about our senior AGM about what kind of gym do we want in the club. Do you want a performance gym or do you want a community gym? And it's important that we get the focus right around players in the club, that when they go into the gym, everything is there for them to progress. And for us as a committee or as a club, we want to make sure that the player here is at the centre of everything that we do. And it's important that they know the techniques, they're given the techniques, go in and work away themselves, okay? There should be no need for an S&C coach to come in and monitor this. Maybe from a testing point of view, absolutely. But from a players to give them their programme and work away themselves is very important. And if they know the techniques, they should be able to do it themselves. Tie-in lifestyle programs like Homework Club, Grinds. So we have spoke to a couple of companies about that. It runs in a couple of clubs actually, Homework Club and stuff like that, about bringing forward our sessions in maybe just after school or not long after school. And we had a Zoom call recently with the committee around this. How can we put this into place? Can we make the club more of a hub? When they come in, homework done, go up and do their stuff. So it's something we're looking at in the long term, and then around exam time to bring in some grinds inside the clubhouse as well. So it's just the long-term progression of this. Again, as I said, we're only 3 months into this program. It's been working out really well, but these are some of the finds we've had. So from the 48 players invited into the program, 40 players attended regularly. Okay, so which is decent, okay? Some of those players are coming back from an illness. One player is long-term injured, and a couple of players then are sadly falling away from the game. So it's going to be hard. We have to kind of work on that as a committee on how we're going to identify those players and bring them back in. As David said, and other speakers said today that some players will naturally fall away from the game, but we just can't afford to lose them. So we have to find out the reason why and try and get them back in. I opened the program up to players born in 2012. In my opinion, it's probably too young now. I wouldn't have done that if I was to go back and do it again. In our club, we've got 3 players born in 2011. That's all we have. So I was conscious maybe bringing the players in behind it to bulk up the numbers. But from my point of view, I would just go at 2010 and up from now on. They're more mature to take on instruction, and they're able to work very well in the gym. We've had some disciplinary issues around the first group, just around giddiness and stuff like that at the start, because everything is slower. You have to learn the techniques in order to perform the techniques, so it's a little bit slower to start. So I said already, the players pay €5 for athletic tracks, so no cost on clubs. That's taken off the costing side of the house. We are including the club coaches, so we have a club coaching group going for lads who are with the youth groups inside the club, and we're asking them to come into the athletic track on nights and the Wednesday night to see what's going on so they can repeat it back out on the field. The athletic coaches are excellent. They're giving really good knowledge to the players, but if our coach is not there to reinforce that, it'll be lost in the years to come. So what we're planning on doing then is going back into the athletic club once a month now when the summer time starts. Well, that's very, very important to the programme that we keep that connection going with the athletic club inside Nina. So from our point of view is getting coaches on that and trying to get coaches out the door to go see what's happening and show what's good. Now, so far, if I'm being hands up and honest, we've had about 6 coaches there so far on the 2 Wednesday nights, which probably is not where we should be, but we're trying to get to maybe 12 or 13 in the future. As I said, the workshops are there, and it's a big part of our program is the workshop. It just differentiates it from just an S&C program. I didn't want to bring in, or the committee didn't want to bring in just an S&C program into the club. We felt we were losing something in the club around identity and culture. And it's important we brought in certain things that would actually the players sit down, slow down, and realise who they're playing for and what they're playing for. I suppose we have a policy inside in Tipperary academies where we slow the game down to speed it up. That you come in the door and everything is bang, bang, bang. So we try to develop an area where you come in, you talk to each other, you have a chat, you get to know each other, and then you progress from there. I think a lot of the times in our clubs, players come in on the phones, heads down, not talking. So to engage them in some kind of a workshop or in some kind of a chat or slow things down a small bit is very beneficial going forward. That's pretty much my presentation, guys. It was only a snapshot in time. Again, it's a very young program. It's only in operation for 3 months. It has done wonders for us from a point of view of player engagement. As I said, 40 players and 48 players are coming in. I don't expect to see anything from this for another 5, 6, 7, 8 years. But it's important for our club to make steps towards doing the right things. I'm very open with anything I have up there on the board. I'm more than willing to talk to anybody here about stuff in their own club or send you on the presentation. So thanks very much for listening to me, and thanks very much. Cheers.